Do you ever wonder what to do with all that fresh basil that you just pruned from your kitchen garden? Well, in this video, you will learn how to make a delicious and extraordinarily unique beverage, Basil-Lime Cooler. It is refreshing and creamy, so also satisfying with a cashew milk base. You may also use a coconut base, and you'll delight and inspire all of your friends for the next garden party you have. How do you make what that normal recipe is just tastes so good? And the secret to all of my recipes and to life is just a little fresh zest. So in this case, we're using fresh basil and the zest of lime. So let's dive in. My name is Lisa, Passionfruit Arts, here to share my inspirations for living zestful life. We have just harvested a bunch of basil and learned how to prune it. So we have this lovely, just trimmed basil. And I want to show you first off how to utilize the fresh basil by trimming just snipping with your fingers, a few of the bottom leaves. And we'll use that in the recipes. Then we have this nice stem. Basil does not like being refrigerated, it turns brown. So just trim off the stem and place it in a glass of water. And you can do this with all of the stems that you just pruned so that you'll have fresh basil to utilize all week long. Let's get to the recipe. So this is just the epitome of summer. It's like limeade with these special ingredients. So it's very simple, really. We will take a packed, and I mean packed, like I took all of the leaves I could to pack into 1 cup. And in a high-powered blender, we're gonna place, see, look how that expanded. It looks like so much basil, but it's a lot of air, a lot of fluff. Leafy greens are, so we'll just put 1 packed cup of fresh basil leaf. And I have soaked 1 cup of raw cashew pieces, and you can soak them anywhere from a half an hour up to 8 hours. Sometimes if you want to leave them in the fridge overnight soaked, that's fine. And half an hour, they might still have a little grit or crunch, but if you're in a pinch, it's not a problem. And go ahead and toss the soaked cashews. The reason you soak them is to make them soft, and they will turn into a cashew milk. So for sweetener, you can use honey. I prefer raw honey, but you would have to warm it up to a temperature so that it will liquefy just enough to add it to the recipe. So in this case, I'm using equal parts sweetener to lime. So I have a little less than a half a cup of honey here. And fresh squeezed lime juice. Fresh squeezed is always preferable. So we had a third, and we'll finish it off to make equal parts sweet and tart. We can start blending. We'll add water to just to fill, and you want it to begin with a nice creamy texture because you'll be adding ice, and then it will get more liquefied. So we'll go ahead and blend this for a good 2 full minutes on a high-powered cycle of a high-powered blender. You know it is finished when you don't see any flecks of the basil leaves, which are unappetizing and would get stuck in your teeth. So it's nice and creamy. It's got a very fresh green look. And now for the magic ingredient. So whenever you use a citrus, you can also use the zest of the citrus, which just lifts up the flavor and balances it. So you can use a microplaner or the small edged side of a grater and take the whole lime and just straight into the blender. Give it a good zest. If you were to measure, I would say probably a half a teaspoon of zest. We'll just lift this up. You don't want to use too much citrus zest because it can be bitter. And basil is so uplifting. The essential oils that are in the basil leaves are high in a constituent that has been known to be anti-inflammatory, acting just like aspirin or ibuprofen. So this is a wonderful beverage for midsummer when you're hot and you may be a little bit inflamed from high exercise or the heat. And you can serve this in a beautiful glass. We gotta add the ice. Don't forget the ice. You don't want it to taste like salad dressing, so you want it to be nice and cold. There we go. 2 hands for that. And just give it a nice blend. Leaving a little bit of crunch is nice. And you can serve this in a margarita glass or a martini glass or something fun with a little sprig of basil, a little wedge of lime, and let's test it and see. Smells good. It smells lightly like basil, and give it a taste test. You always want to see every lime is different and every sweetener is different, so if you use a simple syrup or maple syrup, it tastes like a tropical beach, like I'm in Thailand. It's delicious, and that extra zest just complements the sweet and tart and lifts it up, and that's what it is. It's uplifting. So when you're feeling hot and tired after a long summer day, serve this to your family and your guests, and they'll be wowed. Now that we have adjusted the flavors and it's just right, just a nice blend of sweet and tart, that little savory kick from the basil and the lime zest to just uplift it, we would serve it in a nice glass over some ice. See, it's nice and creamy, but not too thick, so it's really refreshing, just like a special limeade. Little wedge of lime, and to surprise your guests and intrigue them, we put a little basil garnish. It's nice to do a little honey drizzle as well to lift the sweet. This beverage is so refreshing, especially after a long summer day in the heat. It's satisfying, it replenishes your electrolytes, and it's very uplifting. Let's try it. It's so good. It takes me to a tropical beach somewhere, and I feel so relaxed. If you enjoyed this video, go ahead and give me a thumbs up and comment down below. These are some of my firsts, and I'd love to hear from you about what you like and what zests up your life. And go ahead and subscribe. I've got a lot more recipes that are extraordinary, and enjoy.